Time for the additional reading. I believe there's at the very least one more when I'm reading all the last chapter stuff before the final area. And if the arena has any, I'll be doing a reading of that stuff. I'm not sure if it does or not, so at the very least there'll be one more reading after this. This one, I feel like this one will be shorter, just because the last chapter took a while longer, but that was because there's a lot of farming stuff I had to do, and exploring and all that, not so much major story stuff happening. Anyway, let's start with this guy. The rites of Midniverne. After Midniverne, or Midwinter, the day of the winter solstice, the days grow longer. According to the elves, Midwinter, I should call it Midwinter, marks the beginning of a new cycle. The sun gradually gains power, and all things beneath it are born once again. Winter shrines are erected this day, celebrate the revival of light and life, but also honor in the winter, as death and resurrection are two sides of the same coin. Magic connected to death and cold is particularly strong near winter shrines, and witches can use them to prolong frost and destroy crops. Even witchers bow before the shrines to honor winter and increase the intensity of their signs. And I activated that before I went into this city. So that's that little random little midwinter shrine thing. Venoms of poison. Most poisons are lethal to the body, yet a small group of venoms influence the mind, destroying free will. Administered regularly, such substances render the subjects susceptible to the influences and suggestions of those closest to them, making them appear as if though they had no will of their own. Yet these poisons are very difficult to wow, this is what I get for doing the reading when I'm on 14 hours of sleep. Or I've been up 14 hours. I mean, yeah. Anyway, this needs to be done, so if I fuck up words, oh well. For they require very rare ingredients. In addition, the creator must summon Concord. I don't know why I can't pronounce that word right now. Anyway, the creator must summon the power and quantities far beyond those available for everyday village witch. Impotence is caused by poisons of yet another variety, used chiefly by court plotters seeking to control the fate of dynasties and noble houses. These poisons must be administered in very small doses, as in excess amount they could topple a horse. In excess amounts they could topple a horse. The worst of all are the delayed action venoms. Poison of this kind may kill many years after being consumed, years during which a victim's health declines. No sound medical reason for this can be found. Let's see, Margaret's notes. That's from chapter 1. Find the scribbled notes. That's chapter 1. Slaves of the Curse. Drogs are commanders. Draugrs are their race soldiers. A Draug calls Draugrs into existence on battlefields or in the cemeteries by sheer force of his will. Like the Draug himself, these minions arise from the damned souls trapped within the shells formed of the remnants of arms, armor, war machines, and corpses that were torn apart by scavengers. Conjunction of spheres. There's scores of learned works, dissertations and treatises about the medical cataclysm from about 1500 years ago. Because of this event, creatures never seen before entered our world and still do not have their own ecological niche here. Among others, graveyears and ghouls are relics of the primation of the spheres, though elven tradition has it that we humans are also newcomers from that time. The sorcerers claimed at the time humanity received both the wondrous gift and the jailbreak curse they considered magic to be at that time, which is interesting. I feel like that has something to do with the Wild Hunt, like the spheres and that. I guess we'll find out. Witcher 3. The Draug is a mythical creature, issuing straight from ancient legends of heroes and their epic deeds. When a hero descends into a fiery hell to rescue his beloved, or when he seeks to avenge his father's death, the Draug is often his opponent. Why are poets so keen to cast this monster as the arch enemy? Well, as a wraith, the Draug fits well into any dark story of a curse or vengeance from the world beyond. Described variously, always as terrifying, its true appearance remains unknown. It is a powerful creature, a prince of the damned, thus making an ideal villain. That was a crazy char creation or flame legion thing I fought in the last chapter. The Dwarven Immortal. The Dwarven Immortal is called the Devil's Tail by dwarves themselves, and Fine Icar, that is the Sun's Blood, by the elves. The plant has powerful medicinal properties, but is relatively unknown and extremely rare. According to elven legend, an archer once managed to pierce the sun with an arrow. The sun's blood dripped from the sky, sinking into the ground so deeply that it penetrated the ancient hollows in the rock. This herb may today be found in places where the blood settled. That account may or may not be apocryphal. I've never seen that word. I'm learning something new every day. It's the fact that immortality is sought after as a ingredient for antidotes and beauty elixirs. That's whether or not it's true or not, or just a fable. It grows in caves and old mines, for it does not require sunlight. That's why it's described as dwarven. Song of the Hunt. Song of the Hunt. Tracing ever wider spiral, the hunt circles the world of mortals. Everything decays in the centrifugal vortex. Pure anarchy rages over the world. The winds of war swell on blood, flooding the rites of ancient innocence. The best lose all hope, and the worst revel in a fervent and fitful power. Looking glass images without heart or mind haunt the worlds in the name of those who have preserved blood from blood and feed an unrestrained host. Bastard Shilard fits order, first letter to the Emperor. Yeah, okay, this is new. His Imperial Majesty, the Emperor Nilfgaarden, Emir Var, Emirs, private and confidential. Your Imperial Majesty, I hasten to report the Sorcerer Vanamir is indeed proven right for the role assigned to him. He keeps his apprentice Cynthia on a short leash and displays nothing approaching excessive ambition. I believe him to be of unquestionable loyalty, and his abilities are more than adequate to serve your Imperial Majesty objectives. The summit will be the final test. We'll see how he behaves there, and if he provides more capable of resisting temptation than his female colleagues did. Please convey my kindest regards to your consort, your Imperial Majesty, ever faithful servant, Shilard Fitz Orlisty. Your consort. Who that is. Val gets notes. Nana kappa z uda yi I got exa nana z uda z got kenpa nibit. Okay. Visionary Notes 3. My Road to the Light, the third fragment. Actually, don't have his first notes, so yeah, I'll just do notes 3 and 2. Yeah, my road to the light, the third fragment. Henselt was furious that it ruined his spectacle. I was beaten to a pulp. Soon I was stripped of my rank, and those I had thought friends turned from me. I started drinking more than ever and sank into sloth, so I was regularly punished. I spent all my free time in solitude until one day, as I sat with a bottle of foul spirits staring at a sizzling candle stub, understood that it all happened for a reason. I had a calling. The flicker that Miss Glesevig had lit within me spread over my heart, and it burned within the flames of faith. Kingdoms of Alamore Reckoning has finished downloading. Thank you, Steve. Felt like playing to that again. Or starting to. My Road to the Light, the second fragment. We nailed Miss Glesevig to a wheel, we pierced her slender hands, and throttled her narrow waist with a rope. The pyre was ready beforehand. Henselt laughed and encouraged us to mock her as we did. As the flames licked the wood, I looked into her bright eyes, yet I could see her no fear in them, only peace. I trembled for the first time. I trembled once again as the flames themselves starved. The fire would not accept the victim. Then Henselt ordered to feed the flames with more wood. The branches were wet, and the smoke stung our eyes, filling us with remorse. With the flames, I could see Miss Glesevig suffocating, and I trembled for the third time. I grabbed a spear used to push the wood in the pyre. Unmindful of the heat, I scaled the flaming wood and pierced her heart, thus was transformed into the fire. Shilard Frill Orstein's order, by order of his Imperial Majesty, hereby command the capture of the sorceress Triss Marigold, considered to be a large and upper adder. Sorceress must be brought to me alive and in secret. Not a single hair is to fall from her head. Shilard of Fitz Orlisty. The rudiments of pathomorphology. Mila Vanderbrick. The world should finally understand that examining the dead could save the living. We owe the dead the respect, that is true, and that is exactly why such examinations should only be done by doctors or students under the watchful eyes of their professors. In further sections of this work, I describe how respectful dissection should be conducted and what tools should be used to reach the truth and proper respect for the deceased. Trolls and trolling. According to legend, trolls were born of the earth and their body is made of rock. They fear and despise sunlight, which kills them by turning them into inanimate stone, so they only prowl at night. So much for legends. What is the reality? Well, as always, the truth is far more mundane. Trolls are living creatures like you and me. They prefer day to night, and they're so clumsy that they stumble over stones in the dark, spilling the vodka they cherish so much. Their skin is indeed hard as stone, but beneath it there are muscles and a heart that pumps blood. Given that they bleed, they can be killed. Magic and power. Sorcerer is the name. I had that. I read that. I thought I read the sorcerer wrong, but anyway. Sorcerer is the name customarily applied to male persons capable of commanding the power, though it is but one of many terms or phrases, most of them highly unflattering, which have been used over the ages. These terms range from the rather respectful title of Wise One to the somewhat less specific Bloody Son of a Bitch. The plague take 'em. As for women of this persuasion, that is, sorceresses, they have been called everything from archmistresses to a colloquial expression I will not repeat out. Yeah, I read this one. All kinds of receipt. Receive the ordered chalice, and in forwarding, the first payment is agreed. Know, however, that the ornament was sloppily executed. The object as a whole looks shoddy and is hardly identical to the original. The item ultimately serves its purpose and my needs, you will receive the remainder of your remuneration immediately after this council. Auckland. Old clan. And there's chalice with language I don't note. Baltimore's directions. Start looking at the well where the loud echoes dwell. Take 10 paces toward the river. Walk left, do not shiver. Yeah, that's the boat one. Dandelions poetry sketchbook. Dandelion 1. If you wish my number 1. If you wish my love at my side to repose, my heart would acquire over your hands pale and fine. They grasp gently to hold like a rose, or grasp me elsewhere and leave me satisfied. Number 2. If you wish my love at my side to repose, we admire virtues, me yours, and you mine. I could pet your cheeks, you might twiddle my nose, and treat as a morsel upon which to dine. Number 3. If our bodies could a song compose, my heart would acquire of your hands pale and fine, if they grasp it gently to hold like a rose, or to treat it like a morsel upon which to dine. Okay. It's just writing out random little poems. History of the Council of the Mages. The Supreme Council of Sorcerers consisted of talented mages, most of whom were advisors to the rulers of the northern kingdoms. Philip Eilhart and Cardoon of Land Exterior were among others its members. The only one member of the council turned out to be an elf guardian supporter during the Entangled rebellion. A large part of its members were neutral mages, and that caused a split in the body. Though most of the council's members survived these events, the loss of importance in the king's support resulted in disbanding the association, and sorcerers lost most of their previous influence in the north. The Legend of the Oathbreaker. A long time ago, the dragon Ostrovig rampaged and plundered the sacred temple of Freya on the Scoia'tael Islands. 3 brothers, the son of a Jarl, vowed to recover the goddess's relics. The priestesses granted them diagrams of 3 ancient suits of armor. This Oathbreaker. Suits of armor, so they would be able to face the dragon. I was reading to see if I did this one or not. Well, priestess granted the diagrams of 3 ancient suits of armor, so they would be able to face the dragon's formidable fangs, a devastating breath of fire. Smith, Sigurd, or Iron Lord forged the sacred armor for them. They said the eldest brother did not take part in slaying of the dragon. He fled in terror when he saw the beast, leaving his brothers to perish in the flames. Since he was first to take the oath before the priestesses and the one to convince his brothers to do the same, he became known as Oathbreaker. Like the 2 other brothers, he was cursed, and Anthema was worded he would live as long as he wore his complete outfit. Oathbreaker died at the hands of the middle brother, a coward. He was fleeing his would-be murderer and removed his boots to sneak away unnoticed. The prophecy was fulfilled when he was pierced with the sword as he sought refuge in the waters of the Pontar. They say someone on the other bank of the river found his possessions, including the diagrams of the Oathbreaker outfit, which remains cursed. Cecil's map is just a random map of the Pontar Valley. Captain's journal from Aila Tarn to the Supreme Court of Mages. The research and exploration conducted in Loch Marine has produced surprisingly good results. Our discoveries went well beyond simple valuables and historical items, namely, we unearthed a relic that belonged to the member of the first conclave. The fools accompanied me on this journey have no notion of the significance of this find. The item is simply too important to land in the dark storeroom of the faculty of history. As a spiritual successor to the first mages, I hereby claim ownership and as well as yours. The find is bound to cause a fuss, thus I request your support and appropriate lobbying at Foltest Court. Lore of the Temptress. Succubus, often mistaken to be a higher vampire, is a post-conjunction creature. Thereby a visitor from another world trapped in our reality. The beast has the form of a comely female with the hooves instead of feet. However, her partial animal appearance has no meaning for the use the monsters entices in like a consummate temptress. Those seduced by the succubus lose their heads if it was a woman, and the beast accepts all attentions, leading the young men to ruin, draining their life force. Once seduced by the succubus, becomes melancholic, loses appetite and all interest in the world. Bereft of strength and moves around with a pale face and sighs heavily. He also reeks of sulfur, and the smell permeates him when he mates with the beastie. To cure him of his fatal addiction, one should acquaint him with the pedestal of dowered lassies and treat him to cold decoctions. How to kill a bulwark. The bulwark can be compared to a heap of muscles contained within a flexible yet durable hide. As the head of a buffalo, yet its mouth is filled with sharply teeth perfectly suited to rending flesh. Bulwarks are post-conjunction beast. Visible marks of chaos include the creature's horns, the vestigial, largely immovable limbs that cover its body. And do gargoyles yet? Theorists of magics to argue about how gargoyles should be classified. This author favors a skull which claims them into their type of golem. For gargoyles are nothing more than fancy sculptures brought to life by magic in order to perform menial duties. They can compete only for the most rudimentary tasks, so they are often found guarding a territory, even if the creator turned to dust long ago. He who seeks to deactivate the creatures permanently must first locate the place for which they were controlled. Once there, he extinguishes the magic runes that control the construct's will. Bruxa, Eulogist of Death. The Bruxa is a higher vampire that is a post-conjunction creature, intruder in our world. She assumes the form of a beautiful woman, then turns terrifying when she grows hungry and attacks. As befits a vampire, the Bruxa drinks blood. The victim of a Bruxa is often both her lover and her chief source of sustenance. Beings of the elements of Earth. The Earth Elemental is younger brother of the legendary Diao, the genie capable of creating earthquakes and flattening mountains. Younger means less powerful, but also more mischievous. Felling trees, toppling the walls of buildings, and crushing people into a pulp, numbering this creature's pranks. Of course, it performs only those its master wishes it to. The Dun Banner. The Dun Banner rose to fame during the last wars with Nilfgaard, the Kedwinian Flight Cavalry Regiment. Initially, it patrolled the area around Ban Gleen, called to the front. It proved its mettle during the incursion in Upper Eddern, but it was the chronicles of the Battle of the Brenna that made the unit famous. Because history likes to repeat itself, several years later the Dun Banner once again led Hensel's foray into Eddern. This time, it suffered a crushing defeat at the hands of an Ostenval ally, no less the sorceress Sabrina Glesevig, decimated beyond resurrection. The unit was never reformed, and its characteristic cloaks and beaver-like skin caps, which once bred terror in the hearts of Kedwinian foes, became a thing of the past, though they remain identifying marks by which the unit's few surviving former members recognize one another. Life and Death of the White Rose. The story of one known as the White Rose of Sherwood is both sad and tragic. Over 200 years ago, Ireland led elven youth in a hopeless fight against humans. The heroic dash could end only in one way. They died for freedom, for stone and marble, the cities, and for Ireland. Just as she promised, they died with dignity, heroism, honor, yet elves could not rise again after that defeat. However, she remains a symbol of fighting freedom this day, and the elven insurgents go to battle with their name upon their lips. Alright, let me take a drink of water real quick. The Conclave of Mages. The Conclave was, next to the Supreme Council of Sorcerers, one of the two main bodies ruling magicians. Those powerful sorcerers of their time sat on there. One of its duties was regulating the standards and the rules of using magic. The ban on necromancy was one of its edicts. Before the Thanid Rebellion, a large part of the Conclave conspired on Nilfgaard. During those events, most of its members died, the sole survivor being Francesca Findabar, After the coup, the conclave was not reactivated, thus many mages do not respect the restrictions it created. The White Flame. Emerve Emrys. Among the rules of the time, one cannot omit the Nilfgaardian Emperor, known as Dithwin and in Yin Cap Up Motivid, which means an elder speech, white flame dancing upon the barrels of his enemies. Kings from the Brianna to the Argur trembled at the sound of his name. His legions of steel-clad soldiers crashed countries under their heels and cast monarchs from their thrones. In his insatiable ambition, he tried to conquer the north on several occasions, yet he also had been forced to sign peace accords each time. Though he does not appear in our story personally, his long shadow often fell over the events I describe here. Balin's Journal 3. Foreman Balin's Journal, the third fragment. Monsters everywhere. Legends were true, it's Darren's bane, too deep, and we delved and woke a nameless fear. This is all my fault, I must try to stop the beast myself. Fly, you fools. I like that they added that. As a map of the caves. Journal number 4, Foreman Balin's Journal, the final fragment. I, Balin Ferguson, record these words in the event I should die, for I wish to be recognized by name. It's the 4th day since I hid this branch of the shaft. Separated from the monster by traps, I am safe, but how long will I survive without water? I have the key to the storeroom and can think of nothing else that would sneak there quietly to get provisions. Reason, however, tells me the storeroom is too far and I won't be able to make it. The monsters are trying to reach me again, so I have to wait anyway. Later, when I'm desperate, who knows? Journal number 2. Foreman Balin's Journal, the second fragment. This morning we discovered small slits in the tunnel walls. The cracks don't seem to be dangerous, but I order additional wooden supports placed just to be sure. Rudolph Ferdinand sputtering. I think he does not enjoy the temperament of the step. Old Nien Zamenhof claims to hear knocking. I bet he has finally flipped for good. I think we're getting close to a large load, and I've seen a geologist. And I sent for a geologist. There's a second map. Journal number 1. Work is going as planned. It seems our yield will be even greater than anticipated. Moreover, I believe we can squeeze as much more from this mine. We'll delve deeper, bring upon more wealth, and Vergen regain its past significance. And another map. The Wild Hunt. According to the Nordlings, the Wild Hunt is a procession, or rather a cavalcade of skeletal horse. Yeah, I read that. I just couldn't put it in storage. Bernard Laredo's letter. I know that. Louise Merce reports. Yeah, Flotsam. Captain's log. That's that. Hospital files, I've read those. Alright, that's it for the books. On to the journal. Alright, a bunch of chapter 3 stuff. Let's just get this exclamation marks. What I want to do is, let me save my game real quick. I want to make sure I can go over here. Set that there. Chapter 1, New Boy, already read that. The Karen, I've already read that. Here's diagrams, okay. Here's just a bunch of diagrams of the stuff. There's nothing really to be said here. I'm mainly doing this so that I can go left and right at the very bottom, so I can go up and see which ones are the exclamation marks, because if we're going down, I just can't see anything. Rerolling dice. Oh yeah, there's the tutorial one as well. That can help. Alright, Lapwing, Hangman's Venom. It's kind of like the same idea. Alright, that's all new. Camera controls. I don't think there's any new potions. Any of those. Okay. So let's go to the very bottom again. Head over to here, glossary. It's Supreme Council Sorcerers. I read that. That's the book. Book. That's new. According to this part of the Emperor, the Nilfgaardian Emperor's book. According to Charlotte's words, Geralt had the honor of facing the Emperor, who had spared his life at the time. Though well aware of the circumstances surrounding the event, I shall omit them here as they're not directly connected to the story. Probably the Sorceress, I read those. Alright, it's a red haze. Let's go all the way up to the point where red haze is at the bottom. The apparatus of construction of spheres. read that. Alright, Samium. Samium. And it's just the wild hunt. And okay. Ooh. To use the right stick. Oh god, that's freaking out. Under the White Head's possession, Song of the Hunt is a book as rare as a hen's teeth, and a pile of rubbish about the hunt at the same time. Experts in the subject are willing to kill for the item, but fortunately there are not many of them. The multi-layered narration sends the reader into the world of the author's rich imagination, where each verse equals another interpretation. The truth mingles with the fantasy of the work, but there's nothing interest here for researching the hunt. What is a wild hunt in reality? Cavalcaded riders of the world dominated by elves, riders able to travel between dimensions, the so-called race, and the elven warrior spiritual animations. They serve a powerful race and even more powerful individuals, whose knowledge and magic and skills in this domain far exceeded those of human, elven, and elven mages of our world. That mixed with the conjunction of the spheres, something going on there. I feel like the wild hunt kind of might be stretching it, but the people controlling the wild hunt, so they say there, might have been the ones who started the construction of the spheres maybe 1500 years ago. And since it's hinted at that they're able to go through the dimensions, if you're going by Doctor Who logic, he can go through different dimensions and go through massive time gaps. I don't know. I guess we'll find out in the next game, but that's kind of my theory, is that they're able to skip massive amounts of time and at least have something to do with the construction of spheres. Alright, let's go all the way back down here. That's all that. That's that. Okay. The Draugr. Draug is commanders, race soldiers called Draugrs. I read that. Brooks, yeah, they look different in this game. Gargoyle. Times long ago, when youth were more polite, everything was cheaper and girls were more eager. Sorcerers could breathe life in inanimate matter and create stolen servants this way. Gargoyles, for I have them in mind, can be found in ancient cities to this day. Their magic has vanished, and now they are nothing more than cornice decorations. They are, however, exceptions such as Lochmoon gargoyles, still enchanted and still dangerous. Yeah, that's. I wanted to reread that to make sure it wasn't different. Heap of muscles. That. We got Drowner there. Hardened leather. We got Karen Drog. There's the monstrosity. I read that. Earth Elemental. Yeah, I should have killed the one already. Wonder if I missed some drops. There's Troll. Yeah, that's all the stuff from the book I just read. Let's go all the way down here. Again. That's gonna be an issue. See around head, served over seen as yellow. Okay, yep, I read that. So I got Draugr. Oh, wait. Oh shit. Siran and Lewis Merce. And Daggerdo needs to be at the bottom there, I guess. Alright. Yeah, so these two people are new. The witch ran into Gasper once more in the unexpected circumstances. The alchemist was part of an expedition that was to scour the caverns beneath Lochmoon in search of the laboratory of the famous mage Derhan. That's kind of a mission that I haven't done yet, but it's part of that. And that'll be concluded when I do the final reading of the main story. The Witcher ran to Fair once more in unexpected circumstances. The alchemist was part of an expedition that was to scour the caverns beneath Lochmoon in search of the laboratory of the famous mage Derhana. And those are the people who gave me the little, I want to call it blasted mutation that altered my DNA or whatever. You're like, it's like I grow hair in my tongue whenever I drink alcohol or something, or vodka. Alright, since I can do that, let's see if I can. I did the famous people. All this I'm gonna have to read anyway from the start, so I'm not gonna have to worry about exclamation marks here. I can go straight to here. Cool. I'll save the chapter 3 for later. Fuck it. Lochmarine, the amphitheater in Lochmarine was once the Lochmarine Amphitheater. The amphitheater in Lochmarine was once a jewel of the city, even stripped of its foremost trappings and ruined by time, it remains impressive. The elves have used it as a theater, a venue which troubadours performed, perhaps even as an arena for gladiatorial combat. During the memorable events recounted herein, it has served as a site for the summit of mages and monarchs. Kedwinian Camp. Kedwinian military camp greeted us from afar with the cacophony of sounds typical of such encampments. Officers, commands, and sentry scouts mixed with the growling of platoon leaders, enlightening a list of men as to their mothers' professions and why those ladies charged so little for their services. Veterans cursed, recruits sniveled, whores giggled, horses neighed, and dogs barked. The din was accompanied by a jumble of smells, the stench of several thousand men who considered guard duty in the rain to be an adequate bathe cannot be mistaken for any other. And this blended with the sense of the broiling cabbage, foot wraps, and stables, compared to the noxious odor in the wind carried from the camp latrines on the sunny days. The smell of the Cameron's lair seemed to that of a flowering meadow. Out on the cliff, there are many derelict settlements and farms in the area around Vergen, some in served in better shape than the others. Camp followers encampment. The inevitable hodgepodge of camp followers had settled in just beyond the palisade of Henselt's military camp. The area was home to all manner of rabble, such as craftsmen, prostitutes, traders, thieves, and vagabonds. In other words, all those needed to keep an army on its feet. Vernon Roche was directed to settle at his soldiers' feet among the camp followers. This instruction from the Kedwinians was meant as a jab at the Temerians, but the Blue Stripes honestly preferred the company of scoundrels to that of warriors bearing the unicorn in their chests. And from Dandelion's description of the smells, it probably smells much better there too. Forest ravines, wood and gullies scarred the land between Vergen and King Henselt's camp, and innumerable monsters, including trolls, inhabited those ravines, so they were not exactly ideal places to picnic. So they were not. But a traveler following the gullies would be relatively hidden from prying eyes, a fact which, as you will learn, Geralt took advantage of. Mines of Vergen. They said plants unseen anywhere on the surface grow in the mines, among others the one needed for Saskia's cure. The area around Vergen was supposedly riddled with mining shafts and corridors. Some had not been used for long, and others had been used close more recently. I'm hardly an expert on mining, and dwarves can be extremely sensitive and tight-lipped about the subject. The few illusions they made, however, painted a picture of caves, tunnels, and excavations shrouded in darkness. At the time, these mines had accounted for Vergen's significance, but now they were abandoned and haunted by dangerous creatures. Needless to say, this description did not encourage yours truly to examine them closer. Vergen, this town on the north of Adder and Surad, was founded by dwarves and established mines in the surrounding hills. As was their custom, they carved their homes and public edifices directly into the rock formations, granting Vergen a unique architectural style. The town was an important trade center, one of the roads leading to the country's interior. Humans had also attempted to settle in the area, but disturbances that plagued the Pontar Valley left most of the villages burned and in ruins. Nevertheless, when we arrived at Vergen, it was teeming with humans in addition to its mainly dwarven population. Saskia's peasant rebels and a group of Andaran nobles had made camp there and promptly began to measure each other's with menacing glares. Meanwhile, all the groups that had assembled in the area were mistrustful of Yorvest Scoia'tael, who strove to keep themselves with an unmistakable elven aloofness. Truly, if not for Henselt's army making camp nearby, the whole rabble had been at each other's throats in no time. Peasant militia or units, knights without title, estate, and seasoned dwarf volunteers fought heroically, side by side, facing the Kedwinian veterans to pay for every inch of ground with their blood. Yet the hour of doom seemed nigh, the battle outcome inevitable, that is, until Yorveth arrived with Scoia'tael reinforcements, just in time to turn the tide. Vergen won its independence with courage, steel, and the blood of the fallen. Battlefield. The sight was not much to behold, even on a sunny day, yet it was here that several years ago a bloody battle entered in a magical cataclysm. Rock gullies opened up in plains, scarred with furrows and craters dug by trebuchet missiles, and magical explosions detonated by the sorceress Sabrina Gossevig. Tall, reddish glass covered part of the flat land, the rustling armor, and bleached bones of the fallen nestled among it. Once the curse was activated, however, the ghastly mist engulfed a section of the battlefield. Within it stretched a world seemingly pulled from a nightmare, a world in which ghosts of the fallen endlessly reacted to the battle that had claimed their lives. Once the Witcher lifted the curse, the mist dissipated, and the specters of the fallen vanished into the beyond. That should be it for the chapter 2 thing. Alright, time for all these, oh, that's still chapter 3. For some reason, these 2 missions got canceled, or got messed up. I thought I was doing the setup correctly. I even restarted to try it, and I followed all the steps correctly. I don't know if maybe because I didn't read a note or something. Maybe I didn't read it in time. I don't know. But these 2 requests are failed, unfortunately. Doesn't change the outcome, and they even talk about who did the poisoning, so it doesn't really matter. And I murdered him because it was part of another quest because he freaked out that I chased after him, so justice has already been done. It's just a failed quest. Alright. Suspect Thoric. If, dear reader, you have not lost your way in a tangled but interesting tale of Geralt's stay in Vergen, you may remember Thoric, a dwarf who died by the Witcher's hand. Geralt searched his corpse and found a key, and where there's a key, there's a chest. As it turned out, the contents of Thoric's chest is the point to the investigation on Saskia's poisoning. In Thoric's chest, Geralt found a note confirming recipe of ornate item. Another man might have ignored the scribbles, but during the life of hero has read so many abandoned letters, notes, and secret documents they could easily have become an archivist. Effortlessly, he recognized the receipt had been penned by Auckland. The item in question was a replica of Saskia's goblet used to commit the crime. The walls have ears. You may remember Geralt has been trying to ascertain who poisoned Saskia the Dragon Slayer. Our trader led him to the serf who had easy access to Saskia's chambers that could have been bribed by the assassins. While the Scoia'tael had been shadowing him closely, they were merely waiting for him to reveal his treachery. We were receiving reports of his every move. A server from Saskia's quarters implicated the priest named Auckland as someone who could have been involved in Saskia's poisoning. The priest is already dead, has suffering a memorable accident in the cursed battlefield. His home could still be searched. Since the alderman Cecil Burden knew everyone in Vergen, the witch went to ask him where the divine servant had lived. Our detective with the wolf medallion around his neck finally learned where Reverend Auckland had lived, so he went in search of the priest's room. In Auckland's room, Geralt found a set of designs for a goblet identical to the one Saskia had used during the council. The designs clearly implicated Auckland as an accessory to Saskia's poisoning, yet did not solve the mystery as a whole. Geralt's investigation was still open as he decided to continue a search for clues. He went to talk to Vergen's inhabitants. Oathbreaker's outfits. Oathbreaker outfit. The stuff and mineral strong, something fighters both feared and dreamed of having, so it turned out the diagrams for its components could be found in and around Vergen. Ever heard of the tale? 3 brothers, one of the eldest vowed to kill the dragon, recovered precious relics that stolen from the Temple of Freya. The temple's priestess gave each brother a set of ancient manuscripts, diagrams, and sacred art that protected them from the beast's claws and fangs. Alright, we read that. His younger brother's attempt claimed his elder sibling's birthright, sought him out and slew him, yet the curse was never lifted. Anyone wearing an incomplete Oathbreaker's outfit would risk death as well, yet the wearer of the complete set would be invincible. The outfit includes gauntlets, boots, trousers, a jacket, and 2 swords, steel and silver. Having learned this, Geralt began to consider gathering the diagrams needed to create this outfit. The search consumed both time and coin, but the effort was worth it. The Witcher managed to gather all the components of the Oathbreaker's outfit. Confident that he would be safe as long as he used all the complete set, Geralt decided to risk testing the curse. Sack full of fluff. Actually, let's scroll up here. Not too much to read. Anyway. Sack full of fluff. I suppose you must be wondering if, while keenly pursuing the Kingslayer, Geralt took on any errands of the kind that he was wont to complete. Having in mind such pursuits of the extermination of monster colonies, a collection of rewards for impressive trophies cut from the corpses of slain beasts. I delved deep into the memory in search of something that might answer this question too, and lo and behold, recalled an adventure in this very vein. Our heroes are attained by an individual named Ethlon, who lived in a hut by the quarry near Vergen. Ethlon was willing to pay good coin for harpy feathers, which he's purposely amassing it for a certain collector. In exchange for a pouch full of orns, Geralt was to bring Ethlon 12 impressive blooms. Mysterious collector's appetite for harpy feathers seemed insatiable. Ethlon made the Witcher another offer, a generous sum in exchange for nothing short of a copious pile of plumes. Though he accepted, Geralt wondered if his all was worth it. 60 feathers was a tall order, even for a witcher. For someone whose fetish for feathers revels the desire which he casts exhibit for she-cats and heat. From which he caps. Yeah, cats exhibit for she-cats and heat. Even a pile could prove insufficient. Collector apparently wanted another 8 plumes. The witcher had for some time sent something fishing in the matter, not completely sure was protruded in some way. Nonetheless, coin does not stick, so our hero seriously considered supplying another 8 harpy feathers. So it turned out 8 was a magic number. The witcher never forcing anyone to get so excited by except Scoia'tael. Down. In fact, Ethlon seemed moved when he received the last batch. A reaction far too strong for an ordinary purchasing agent. Curious to get to the heart of the matter, Geralt decided to revisit Ethlon later. Witcher did as he decided, showed up at Ethlon's doorstep once more and unannounced. Please know, dear reader, that I described the fall of empires and lovers dailing in the forest rich men. I have sung the loud grief of solitary monsters, of the silent joy of the many, the death of the unsure, and the general outbreak of mirth that occurred when Archpriest Janos farted during King Metal's coronation. I am unable, however, to find words to describe what Geralt saw, for there are some things in heaven and earth which are even the philosophers have never dreamed. Yeah, that was a fun little quest. From a bygone era, Geralt found some string notes in Malgoth's hut, immediately sensed magic in them, and after a moment's thought, the Witcher decided to take the notes of someone specializing in sorcery. Hatred symbolized. The Witcher learned that to lift the curse from the battlefield, he would need mementos of the battle representing virtues and horrors of war. He was concerned because he knew very little about the clash between Aedirn and Cadwinian armies. Philip Allerhart told them to see Cecil Burden, Vergen's alderman, who was required to be a real trove of knowledge on the subject. Geralt went off to question the dwarf about the battle. Cecil did not disappoint, he knew a lot, and gladly shared his knowledge. The alderman told Geralt that the symbol of the hatred could only be the sword of the infamous Vandergift, bearing the dreaded, befitting name of hatred. Unfortunately, the blade belonged to Saskia the Dragon Slayer, who had been poisoned and lay dying. Though the Witcher had stolen from the dead of dying in the past, and then in this instance, he decided to stay his hand. The healed Dragon Slayer had no objections and handed Witcher Vandergrift's sword while expressing gratitude. The hero acquired the symbol of hatred. Death symbolized. One of the artifacts needed to lift the curse from the battlefield was symbolized death. Having no idea what was to look for, the Witcher took Philip as advice and decided to talk to Cecil Bergen. Vergen's alderman knew a lot, and the battle between the Cadwinian and Endurnian armies, so we'd like to give Geralt a good lead. After hearing the Witcher out, Cecil Burden stroked his beard and began to tale the Dun banner. The Dun was a unit of Cadwinian light cavalry, known for beyond the borders of Hensel's kingdom. Soldiers could take a part of the battle, and the standard, easily recognized by any veteran in the north, could very well be the symbol of death. The unit's standard was buried in the forest crypt alongside the fallen soldiers. Witcher had to find the tomb and the artifact. The dwarves told the truth, and the standard was indeed in the catacombs. But the symbol of death had a guardian, the wraith of the Dun banner veteran. The Witcher could acquire the item for he saw by defeating the ghost of battle or using deception. The latter choice would force him to impersonate a unit member and appeal an old brother in arms. Geralt managed to deceive the ghost and showed him the sarcophagus containing the Dun banner's standard. The symbol of death was now in the hands of Geralt of Rivia. The curse will soon be lifted from the battlefield. Let's clear some more of this up. Still getting closer and closer. Mystic River. Geralt found the notes of the Teresa of Sorcerer and the wreck of El Etarn, which the local trolls had dragged onto dry land to use as a love nest. The mage wanted to get his hands on the archaeological expeditional findings, which were being transported downriver on the El Etarn and the Petrosele. There was a battle, and the first ship, the Renegade, aboard it was sunk. Witcher found smithing materials from the time of the Vrans along with the notes. He could put them to immediate use, but the notes also mentioned treasure hidden beneath Loch Marine, that which combined with these materials to produce Vran armor. And that's why he kept the Vran armor fragment things. Baltimore's Nightmare. Geralt witnessed various wonders in the Harpy's Nest. Among others, he saw the Dream of Baltimore, a dwarf who had once lived in Vergen. Baltimore was now dead. His dream, in which he was running a tear, having become reality. Witcher would discover that, however, he would not find the dwarf's house. Geralt found the building from the dream. It looked like a workshop. He was about to enter it when he noticed some craftsmen working anvils nearby. Witcher decided that if anyone knew about Baltimore's fate, these dwarves would. Previously, the dwarves tend to hide maps and keys in old furnaces. Geralt cleared the suit from his discovery, and the curious Thorak did not voice a single objection to the destruction of the furnace. Note was written in Elder speech and language, which the Witcher knew, of course. It said, "Start looking at the well where the loud echoes dwell. Take 10 paces toward the wyvern and walk left and do not shiver. Meager 2/10 of paces past the gate in my good races. The one that our safety keeps. Go where the crossroad patron sleeps. Every road you need to take, get the middle one is safe. Heed and look for Ingrid's signs, you'll follow my design. Should you choose to go right, you'll soon see someone in plight. At noon, this down soul points to a shadow at your goal. Geralt knew Ingrid's sign is the symbol of the patron it guides, shaped like a circle with a line traced from it. The line always points to a shelter. Geralt understood that Thorak was only feigning indifference, and in reality was very interested in the search. Dwarf now was not to the Witcher's liking. Geralt decided to continue his investigation while keeping an eye on Thorak. First, he deciphered the notes. Witcher found Ingrid's sign. He went to the direction pointed by the line. Following Ingrid's signs, Geralt found a key hidden by Baltimore. Now he needed to find the lock which they fit. The Witcher took the notes and followed the second path. Thorak shadowed Geralt the whole time. He had a guilty conscience. The letter found by the Witcher was irrefutable proof that Thorak killed Baltimore. A hero decided that Vergen elders should learn of this. Cecil Byrne was shattered by the news of Thorak's crime. In one stroke, a murderer was discovered and Rune Master lost. The elder brother began to ponder the situation, yet did not forget to reward the Witcher for solving the mystery. Queen Heartbeat contract. The Vergen elder announced a reward for killing a Harpy Queen. Could use the additional money. Harpy Queen dove at Geralt with her talons, and her sisters mounted a fierce defense, but the Witcher prevailed, defeating all the beasts. Kingslayer he was indeed. He went out to see the alderman brandishing his newly won trophy. Cecil Byrne spared no expense, and everyone breathed the sigh of the relief at the Heartbeat Queen's death. Their dreams and nightmares return, and the people of Vergen would again have a reason to fall asleep in the evenings and rise in the morning. 1-on-1 Vergen. The Vergen dwarves liked simple pastimes, and fist-fighting matches were among them. At the time, there was a tournament offering monetary rewards going at the inn, and Geralt decided to win it. Young Zin would be his first opponent. Young Zin fell to the ground so hard that it trembled. The spectators cheered the Witcher. When other contenders, Steel Placeholder, was already warming up. Geralt beat Placeholder in black and blue, having barely scratched in return. The dwarves were amazed that he could be so hale and tough. Only those who had adventured to the Witcher's side knew that Geralt would deal with Percy Woodham too. They were right. Whether Woodham might be, it could no longer boast of having breath the reigning champion, and because the victorious Geralt took his place. Witcher got his reward with a smile of self-satisfaction that made others want to hit him in the face for a long time. Let's clear some more of this out. Flickering heart. Take a drink of water. Now, let me tell you how I solved a crime in Vergen with a bit of help of Geralt, who started the whole thing by taking to the elf, Elias. Elias thought he would need a Witcher, but had no idea that the poet would prove to be key to the case. Young men, both elves and humans, were being murdered in Vergen. The elves said that their bodies were being found near a burned village located at the mouth of the guilty leading to Vergen. Subsequently, being interred in catacombs beyond the town. Geralt took it all in, meaning began to wonder if he should go to the crime scene or to the burial site. Geralt searched the burned village for clues. Could not help but notice a pervading scent of sulfur, the scent so characteristic and strong that it obscures all others, as I'm sure you know. Odors at the side of the fire are nothing unusual, but the added scent of sulfur can mean only one thing to a Witcher: the succubus is or was near. Finding no traces of the beast, however, Geralt noted his suspicion and set off for the dwarven catacombs to pursue his other lead. Witcher examined the bodies of the victims and, based on his professional knowledge, concluded the titled succubus had killed the men. Also, Geralt found the book, a tome of poetry, on one of the corpses. Whoever doubted that humans and beasts alike admire my onur and love me should doubt no more, as this proof positive of my fame. In any case, the Witcher had hit the dead end and came to talk to me. The book the Witcher had found had been stolen from me some time before. Needless to say, I was glad to recover it. The clue suggested that Succubus was an avid fan of poetry, thus I had no choice but to return to the village and lure the beast out with some moving lyrics. As many epic romance states, as Geralt reassured me, succubi are nocturnal creatures, so the Witcher and I agreed to meet at midnight. Succubus literally ate out of my hand, such was the power of my poetry. With my aid, the witcher could speak with the demon. According to the beast, the murderer was the elf Alias, a jealous lover, for you must know the succubus had many lovers, all the murdered victims among them. Geralt listened to her testimony and went to speak with the elf. Obviously, Alias protests his innocence, and to be honest, Geralt and I had no evidence to prove either his or the succubus' guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. The word of monster against the word of a bandit, the decision was hard indeed. Geralt decided to accuse Alias. He presented what little evidence we gathered to Yorveth. Scoia'tael leader wanted to talk to a subordinate. Alias was far away by then. He had fled. Still uncertain of the elf's guilt, the witcher went to tell the succubus everything. Geralt decided that Alias, guilty or not, would sooner or later kill the succubus. The witcher's discussion with the elf quickly escalated to a fight, and Geralt slew the Scoia'tael. We'll never know if Alias is truly the murderer yet. We think it was very likely. Either way, the witcher decided he deserved some reward and went to see the succubus about it. I want to describe how the succubus rewarded Geralt. I'll leave that to your imagination, dear reader. I will note only that the witcher seemed more satisfied than he was usually upon receiving a bulging pouch of organs. All in all, the adventure with the she-beast ended well for us. There were no more murders in Vergen. That I do not know, for we were soon to leave with the proud door of a town, and alas, I received no more news from there. Poker Face Vergen. Geralt grew fond of playing dice poker and started looking for other players just arriving in Vergen. Turned out there were many enthusiasts of the pastime there. Geralt met players at the inn, among them the innkeeper himself. He also heard that the elder Cecil Burden and the local blacksmith apprentice would never refuse a quick game. However, the best players would not just play anyone. The witcher to make a name by winning with the dwarves, meeting at the smithy first. The first victory was an easy one. One more game would be enough for Geralt to enter the local league. When two poker players had been completely outplayed, the gambling elite took note of Geralt. The witcher could face the innkeeper. The innkeeper hexed his dice, but his spells were for naught. Geralt went to channel Cecil Burden. The elder had more luck in politics than at dice. He lost shamefully, so Geralt had one opponent remaining, the blacksmith's apprentice. Yet the blacksmith's apprentice lost too. I hear he cried his heart out for a substantial financial loss. However, gamblers, just like the honest historians, leave no room for sentiment. Thus, glory to the witcher and the shame on the defeated. Bringing out Vergen. Geralt didn't have much free time. He liked to have his fun. After besting Zoltan Chevet at arm wrestling, a dwarf told him the exploits of his old crude. Stories about the dwarven grit convinced the witcher to take on Yarpen, Ziggurin, and Sheldon Skaggs. Geralt bested Sheldon Skaggs quite easily. In the process, he learned about Scalan Burden, who's no equal at arm wrestling. The dwarves encouraged Geralt to challenge Scalan to a match and defeat him. Geralt bested Yarpen, though not without effort. Incidentally, he learned that Scalan Burden, the alderman's nephew, was a local arm wrestling champion. A fact that was grating at the old crew's nerves. Taking Scalan down a peg would earn the witcher the eternal gratitude of Zoltan's friends. The name of the elder's nephew followed Geralt like a stench follows an army. Zoltan's friends insisted that the witcher should tackle Scalan Burden. Scalan Burden lost to Geralt after a long and grueling duel. The witcher went back to see Yarpen and Sheldon to learn exactly what eternal gratitude meant. First, however, he heard the story of a mighty Numa, a legendary arm wrestling champion. The witcher hoped to meet the strong man one day, and if he really did, dope himself as the dwarves claimed. Geralt tested his hand often and never lost his strength. That meant that's mutant stamina for you. He defeated all the dwarves, including the best among them, Scalan Burden. Harp contract. While an upper Geralt was on the lookout for Richard's work. He learned that Vergen's authorities had posted a bounty for thinning the local harpy population. He applied for the job. First, he decided to learn more about the winged creature's habits, either by exterminating them one by one, or by reading professional literature about them. Harpies nested on inaccessible rocky ledges. Geralt could not climb to their abodes, so he reasoned that some Richard technology might prove useful. He decided to use harpy traps, and so he did. Once the harpy nest was destroyed, and many years passed before the creature's population rose anew, Geralt, proud as a peacock, went to see Cecil Burden about his reward. Cecil Burden was not one miserly sort of dwarf. The witcher got his award for the harpy extermination and left pleased. Hey, works in the mines. The people of Vergen had worked in the nearby mines for the time immoral. The excavation was halted, however, once monsters began multiplying there. How happy must the elder Cecil Burden have been when a witcher arrived at this town. The dwarf promised to have the reward for clearing the beasts from the underground tunnels. Geralt headed beneath the ground and started looking for the cause of the problem. He quickly discovered that the miners delved too deep are broken through to ancient tunnels carved by creatures never meant to see the light of day. Creatures are entering the mines through the fissures of the rock. Geralt decided to collapse his breaches with bombs, using bombs known as beehives. The monsters are exterminated, and the breaches they've used to enter the mine shafts were collapsed. There's nothing else but to head to Cecil Burden for the reward. Bergen regained its mines. The Elder is pleased and rewarded our hero. Let's clear this up. Cool. So we're at the last little bit. The longest ones. Take another drink of water before I start reading a bunch of this. Alright. Bergen besieged. Geralt awoke in Philip Earhart's quarters right in time. Hensel's forces were approaching Bergen to besiege the town. There were precious few heroes who could have tilted the battle in Saskia's favorite round, so the Witcher had no other choice but to get out of bed and take matters in his own hands. Sultan Gervais waited him at the gate. And so the assault began. The very first wave of attackers destroyed the barricade. Excuse me. Season attacks. Whew. Anyway, the first wave of attackers could destroy the barricade and break through the Bergen proper. To begin the resolve, Geralt and Zoltan decided to activate an old dwarven mechanism and pour boiling oil on the attackers. Zoltan ran for the cauldrons on the left, and Geralt hastened to the lever on the right side of the walls. With the skill of a consummate engineer, Witcher activated the mechanism on the walls, and boiling oil rained down on the enemy. This would not stop the Kedwinians completely, but it did thin their numbers and weaken their resolve. The deed alone, Geralt raced back to the defenders. Zoltan was waiting for him near the gate. If only conventional weapons were used during the battle, the attackers would be in forward to put the sorcerer on their side. Deathmold blasted the barricade to the bits with the spells. The Kedwinian attacked, the Endarians had to retreat. A bold move, Hensel's soldiers attacked the walls. Geralt was first in line to repel them. The Witcher didn't have a moment of respite. The second assault came after the first one. He had to stand firm on the situation once more. Hensel has been slapped on the wrist and was licking his wounds. However, that which cannot be taken directly could be taken using guile. A secret passage leading to Bergen. Saskia is afraid the enemy might find it. Geralt ran to check out the underground corridor. Accompanied by Saskia, Geralt descended into the secret tunnels of the Founders. The defenders suspected that the enemy could use the cultures to launch a treacherous attack from behind. Their suspicions proved correct. The expedition first encountered Kedwinian soldiers and then Deathmold himself, led by a Virginian traitor. Geralt could not let this opportunity pass and launched its sorcerer sword in hand. Yet Deathmold was no fool and would not stand idly by to be sliced by the Witcher's blade. He fell back to a safe position to attack Geralt, a spell so malignant that our hero's vision grew dark. Defeated, the Witcher fell to the ground. The dwarven corridors would have been his grave if not for Saskia. The Dragon Slayer shape shifted, transforming into the dragon and lunged at Deathmold, causing him to flee. Thus the Witcher learned Saskia's secret. Subtly, the many vague elements of the story began to make sense. It's clear that it has been made up from the start. The Dragon Slayer, being the dragon herself, had used the story to shape her image as a fighter for a free Pontar Valley, to hide the humans from a rather unconventional true form. Witcher, who had miraculously survived a little time to analyze matters in details, he had to return to the walls and save Bergen. In the meantime, Kedwinian mounted a third assault, pulling all their forces on the attack. Geralt realized the defenders won't hold out for long, but he's determined to fight to the bitter end. Just as defeat loomed inevitably over the defenders, Yorvath returned to Bergen, leading reinforcements with them. The unexpected relief bolstered Saskia's soldiers, and they began to cheer. Geralt was happy as the next man, but he controlled his euphoria. He instantly realized that a great opportunity would be wasted unless he broke through the elven leader and joined forces with them. Geralt and Zoltan reached Yorvath, now to trap the Kedwinians in the town courtyard. They needed to close the gate. To unblock the gate mechanism, the dwarf hit the lever with all the strength he could muster. Closing the gate reversed the course of the battle. The Endarians found his strength, pulling Hensel on the defense and finally forcing him to surrender. Thus ended the war for Upper Eddard. The negotiations with Hensel came to end. The Endarian forces' victory was sealed. Yet instead of celebrating the victory, Philip and Saskia left in a hurry without giving any explanation. If you suspected the reasons for such behavior, you're right. If you also think the Witcher managed to meet them before leaving Virgin, you're also correct. Geralt and Yorvath followed them. Philip and Saskia disappeared in the portal without word of explanation. Geralt decided to search Philip's quarters, hoping to find any clues. Clues. While searching Philippa Eilhart's quarters, Geralt and Yorveth found a book tellingly titled Venoms and Poisons. It's a dog-eared at the page describing a poison allowing one to control another's mind. This is not irrefutable evidence, but it had caused certain suspicions that he had been forming in our hero's mind, spelt like the beanstalks that wrap around poles in Dol B'Thana. Philippa had only feigned being the Dragon Slayer's friend. While treating her, she had poured her own venom into Sasuke, venom that affected the mind, not the body. In brief, the sorceress had taken control of the dragon's mind. Knowing Philippa, Geralt knew that the Lady Aha would not hesitate to use her new weapon, so the witch and Yorveth conferred and agreed to save Sasuke. Among Philippa Eilhart's abandoned possessions, Geralt learned the shocking truth. It turned out the sorceress that poisoned the Dragon Slayer. A hero had no idea what caused her to do so, but he guessed finding the trail bigger, intrigue, and solved the previous mysteries in a new light. Virgo was triumphant, yet unaware of the heroic Sasuke's disappearance, and Geralt Yorveth began the search. The Witcher was entering the final chapter of the story of the assassination of kings. Matter of life and death. As you already know, Sasuke had known to those who loved her as a virgin of Adarn, and to those close to Entangled as that insolent wretch had been poisoned. There was also numerous stories about the Witcher could cure the girl, how he climbed a glass mountain, appeared, and placed a healing kiss on her carmine lips. While none of those are true, several unusual ingredients were needed to prepare the antidote. That is a rose of remembrance, a dragon's dream, an immortal, and royal blood. The Witcher began a search for these ingredients. And when the Witcher gathered all the ingredients, he headed for Philippa Eilhart's house with them. Let's clear some more of this out. The internal battle. In the world of race, only those affected by a ghost had connection in life any meaning. After conferring with Philippa Eilhart, Geralt ascertained that they would need items symbolizing ideas linked to war, specifically objects representing hatred, courage, faith, and death. The Witcher had embarked on a search for the Dunbanner Standard, believed to be the symbol of death, and for a sword that had belonged to the infamous commander named Vandergift, purported to symbolize hatred. Sorceress promised to find a medallion symbolizing faith and a fragment of a suit of armor that belonged to the brave Selkirk. And so Geralt acquired these relics within his reach and went to see Philippa, who promised to find the others. Just as she promised, Philippa provided the armor fragment and the medallion. She was, after all, mistress of magic, wasn't she? Thus the Witcher had acquired all the relics, ready to lift the curse from the battlefield, and he went to see Philippa. Armed with these artifacts, he had some good advice. With his heart in his mouth, Geralt set off to take part in the spectral battle. His resolve to lift the blood curse had never been stronger, for he realized that Cedric's prophecy could not be taken literally. Dispersing the mist could restore the Witcher's memory. Within the mist, a worthy fool awaited Geralt. Now listen how Geralt achieved the impossible, how he ended the blood curse and defeated a Drog, a creature that never should have set foot in this world. Witchers and poets know well that race are beings trapped in illusionary reality, forever damned to repeat the events of the past. Defeating them is only possible through entering that reality, though the only true reality for them. And so Geralt entered the mist as an Andarian soldier, thus declaring from one of the sides. He had to change the course of the battle, that is to defeat the Kedwinian standard bearer and capture the banner he carried. So how dared Geralt lift the blood curse and defeat with the terrifying leader of the race? Well, he did it like a Witcher would. He knew the battle was taking place in the reality born of evil magic. The reality consisted of the ghosts of the fallen, they only could be reached by entering their world. Geralt had to change the course of the battle, so he entered the mist as a Kedwinian soldier who entered the command and informed that the enemy had captured the standard and to warn him about a possible ambush. Entering the mist at this time, Geralt joined in the battle between the race of Andarian soldiers and those of Kedwinian soldiers. The Witcher assumed the all-important role of heroic Selkirk. Finding under the sign of the chevron, our hero faced a difficult task. He had to fight his way through the battlefield and defeat the Kedwinian army's general. Pushing through the battlefield, Geralt spotted a Kedwinian general. Defeating the Wraith would disrupt the scenario of the eternal battle, so the Witcher did not hesitate for one moment. Sorceress took part in the battle, though regular Kedwinian forces won the advantage. The magician's began a sorceress barrage. Fireballs decimated both sides, and Geralt could only gather his unit and lead it out of the battle to the king's position. We got some more. Where is Triss Merigold? Further reading will tell you Geralt accomplished a lot in Adarn. He fought wars, killed monsters, instructed kings, and caused unhealthy arousal in sorceresses. You'll have to keep in mind, however, that his priority was finding Triss, sorceress, as all other women do, keep in packs. Thus, in his search, Geralt headed for Philippa Eilhart's house. Unhealthy arousal, however, was out of the question in this case. Turned out that someone in Vergen might have encountered Triss. The dwarf had seen a red-headed woman falling from the sky, which decided that this had not been the passenger of an unruly broom, and assumed that instead that it had become Triss falling out of the portal. Immediately went to see the dwarf. Someone who falls from the sky is likely, in general sense, to have numerous misadventures and get in trouble at the drop of the hat. Dwarf toward the Witcher that are dropping from the heavens, a woman to be kidnapped by the troll from the forest ravines. It seems only knights get to deal with dragons and damsels in distress. No tried to content himself with the troll and the sorceress. It was one of those gloomy trolls that neither build bridges nor harness sheep or shepherds, but sit in stone, brooding until they return to rock themselves. Geralt only managed to learn that the troll indeed found a woman who fell into the sky, but only a piece of cloth remained. The garment was in the hand of the troll's wife. However, she left to her husband to recover the sorcerer's clothing. Geralt had to bring the female troll back. What choice did he have? Fighting his way to the she-troll's lair, Geralt was surprised to encounter humans there. They were mercenaries commanded by one Adam Pangard, a soldier of fortune who made a name for himself as Brenna. The soldiers and the she-troll were at each other's throats, always sensitive to injustice, even at the perpetration on beasts. Geralt decided to help the she-troll drive off her assailants. All happy families are alike, including trollish families. Thanks to Geralt, the couple is together again, and the trollish woman was rewarded a hero with Trish's scarf for all his efforts. As it turned out, the Witcher was not the sole human in the area to be interested in trolls. A group of Adam Pangard's mercenaries was hunted the brooding troll's wife. Facing a conflict of interest, Geralt stood with the female troll, whom he was supposed to bring to her mate. Furious, the soldiers of Foltest attacked the Witcher, and our hero decided to defend himself and the beast. We could debate whether he did the right thing, as it was he forced Pangard to yield and can reunite the she-troll and the he-troll. Geralt turned out to be smarter than his deeds would suggest. He had not found Triss, but he certainly knew a crafty sorceress had located a missing person using said person's clothes, and Philippa Eilhart was, beyond a doubt, a crafty sorceress. The Witcher gave the scarf to Philippa, but the search of Triss had to wait. Friendship solidfied and dandy, but politics were always more important to Philippa. At the time, the Redarian sorceress put all her forces in attempts to cure Saskia, and no one could blame her for that. Following the confusion with Prince Stennis, Geralt was forced to seek Philippa's advice. The sorceress had more time for him and helped the Witcher in a very important matter. Forced to admit that Philippa once rolled up her sleeves and finally got to work, the results proved miraculous. Using a megascope, she ascertained that Triss was an area shielded by divination magic, that is, either on the cursed battlefield or on the other side of it. The reader may ask if this is a limit to what Mistress of the Magic could do under the circumstances. But the learned among you know that certain cursed places are naturally saturated with chaotic energy immune to penetration. Philippa gave Geralt the amulet that led him safely through the spectral mists, so the Witcher resumed his search for Triss without further ado. Path through the mist was a path through the battle. Two great armies born of soldiers who had died in a struggle between Kedwinian and Endern years ago. Death and chaos ruled that cursed soil, and Geralt was an intruder. But he's also a Witcher, so he managed to get to the other side. To say he did so unscathed would say the elves had benefited from human colonization. Vernon Rocher waited Geralt the other side of the deathly cloud, and believe me, the Witcher would have rather crossed the myth back again and talk to Roche. Yet despite their differences, they shared a goal. They both wished to find Triss. Vernon claimed the sorceress could be in Henselt's camp among the Nilfgaardians. Geralt could not enter through the front gate. He had a choice: to use an eastern entrance by the river along the cliffs, or to ask the camp followers about another way in. He decided to make for a tunnel leading to the Nilfgaardians by going straight through the Henselt's camp. Obviously, they couldn't simply walk between the soldiers' tents. They crept through the shadows, looking for cover behind tent walls, and gave a wide berth to the guards. He tried to be as silent as soul flakes falling into drifts. This is quite a long one. The western part of the camp really contained an entrance to the cave that led Geralt to the Nilfgaardian camp. The Witcherman entered the Kedwinian camp, and since he was already there, he decided to sneak into Hensel's tent and get the royal blood he needed to cure Saskia. Plan worthy of a vampire, but Geralt was no bloodsucker, though he killed many. Our hero decided that the services of an ace spy and asked Vernon Roche for help. Keeping their national empire in check required much craftiness from the Black Ones, and Chillard Fields Ornstein was also known for the craftiness of Nilfgaardians for a reason. While looking for Triss, Geralt fell into the trap the emissary set. That was only the beginning. Geralt spat all elixirs out when he found out a compressed Triss some time ago carried her in the form of a figure, the person through the whole time. The sorceress turned item, changed hands, and Fitz Ornstein took her to Lochmuin. Geralt was furious, and Philippa Eilhart was now in deep trouble. Who'd cast artifacts, compression spell, and turned Tristan into figurine? Philippa denied all charges, claiming it had been the work of her lover Cynthia. The Witcher was willing to believe her, for Philippa was not one who would readily admit to an error. It was obvious that her lover on Nilfgaardian payroll had made a dolt out of her. The Empire thus gained a powerful enemy, and Geralt gained an ally. Small comforted though it was, Geralt spotted the rows of members she gave to Tristan among the sundries Cynthia left behind. Now he accused the flower petals as the ingredient for Saskia's cure. Did not mean to hit that button. It's quite a long one. Alright. Royal blood. It was a shame that Philippa didn't demand crocodile's tears and a sorcerer's smile as ingredients, the antidote for Saskia. Believe Witcher would rather easier time obtaining either of those. As it was, he had to acquire some royal blood. Literally, there were only two potential donors in the area, Henselt and Stennis. When Geralt asked Demovid's son for some of his blood, he pointedly refused. He behaved in a pitiful way, for he could save the Dragon Slayer's life without losing anything, but that's how Stennis was. Arrogant and egotistical to the limits of all possibility. Geralt could now only hope for another opportunity. Saskia's death seemed certain. The blood coursing through the veins of Stennis, son of Demovid, was royal without a doubt. When a messenger arrived bringing news of riot in front of the prince's abode, Philippa dispatched Geralt there immediately. Peasants that recruited the army were accusing Stennis of poisoning Saskia and threatened to lynch him, so there's no time to lose. Luckily, Yorvith was faster than Geralt and managed to subdue the excited mob before any blood was shed. Yet the peasants were still furious. Left to their own devices, they would sooner or later force their way into Stennis' house. The Witcher decided to see the accusations of poisoning were justified. He began talking to those gathered at the square and went inside to speak with the prince. Crest claimed that the people of Vergen adored Saskia. Their love was so great that they have beautifully adorned a goblet fashioned for the Dragon Slayer. The dwarf so highly landed the quality of the adornments on the goblets that Geralt had terribly thought someone could have placed the poison within the goblet and not the wine Saskia had consumed. Drink of water. Real quick. The nobility had their opinion, the peasants theirs. The man accused of the nobility was not guilty. They blamed Stennis for poisoning Saskia. His peasants' movements initiated by the Dragon Slayer were not to his liking. Geralt found the allegedly bribed peasant and convinced him to talk. The serf not only had a loose tongue, but also keen ears. He learned Stennis talking to Auckland, the priest's favorite, and even remembered one sentence. Just called the servants out of the kitchen, nothing more. Geralt ruled that Vergen of Adarn should decide Stennis' fate. Of course, the peasants did not like it, and nobody was keen on angering a Witcher, nor to question Saskia's right to pass judgment. Everyone thought the girl's verdict would be just, that is condemning. Stennis was captured and led away under guard. Geralt only had one source of royal blood remaining, Henselt of Kidman. Hunting magic. Having been poisoned during the council meeting, as Saskia was dying, nearly everyone who supported her cause now prayed for her health. Among her allies, however, those who did not believe in gods, or at least in divine intervention. Lady Eilhart, the kind of woman who rolled up her sleeves and started casting spells when things got tough, fit the description. So when Geralt learned that the magical artifact was one of the ingredients of the Dragon Slayer's cure, by reasons that Philippa would be their ideal consultant, therefore he decided to have a chat with her at her house. One of the ingredients needed for Dragon Slayer's cure was a magical artifact, an item radiating powerful energy. Of course, sorcerers cannot create one on the fly, and time was against them, so the Witcher headed outside Scoia'tael about magic intersections, ruins, legends of any treasure, in a word, about places where he could find an item of that kind that he needed. Entering the streets, Geralt thought deeply which townspeople would be informed, and those who liked collecting stories. Vergen's alderman told Geralt that the sorcerer had once lived in the nearby forest with Cecil's map in hand. The Witcher began a search, and he found a crystal. Thanks to his medallion, he felt the magic pulsating within. The trophy seemed appropriate, so he took it to Philippa. Philippa recognized this item as a crystallized dream. You must know the harpies of a particular breed know how to steal dreams and turn into solid objects. Fortunately, magic was too weak, so it's not suitable as an ingredient of the cure. Geralt decided to head for the harpy caves in the quarry, where he had hoped to find more powerful dreams. He learned, however, that the creature's death is boiled and barren, and the key was in the hands of Cecil Burden, who was likely to be unwilling to open the gate. The cause would be lost, but the recovered dream was one of the Elder's own. Thanks to Philippa, Geralt learned of Cecil Burden's desire and went to negotiate the opening of the gate with him. For a long time, Cecil Byrne refused to open the gate to the Harpy Lair. He warned that if the folk of Ring were to see each other's dreams, they would shatter the already tenuous nature unity of the town's defenders. He also worried that the nightmares could become real and the horrors incarnate would appear in Vergen's streets. Knowing the Alderman's secret, the Witcher blackmailed him. Cecil finally agreed to let Geralt into the Harpy Caves. What was this affliction that caused the dwarf to fold? Well, the Alderman had promised his sister he would refuse himself alcohol to the end of his days. Dwarven society, when drinking is rampant, the teetotaler is ostracized. He is suspect, considered a squealer, and a traitor to old age traditions. He cannot be vested with public trust, so he cannot be an alderman, let alone a wartime leader. For the good of Vergen, which would be soon face Hensel's might and save his nephew any shame, Bernard decided to keep his abstinence a secret. Thus he played into Geralt's hand, and the Witcher kept his secret. He told only me, and I am the embodiment of discretion. Yet I'm writing it down. And they're just writing it down for each other, I guess. Anyway, the very embodiment discretion. Geralt was right. The Harpy Lair was full of dreams, encased in crystals. You'll here to find the one with the strongest magical aura. Geralt found a truly unique place. It was the cave where the Harpies viewed the dreams they stole. The Witcher realized that the dream encased in a crystal could work as an ingredient in Saskia's cure, so he began looking for dreams and viewed them as a projector he found in the cave. He needed the most powerful one, the one most strongly emanating magic. Witcher cast a net in the sea of dreams and fished out the one he needed. A dream stolen from a dragon contained enough magic to be useful to Philippa. Geralt found another ingredient in Saskia's cure. Let's clear off a bunch of those. Subterranean life. To call Philippa our hired healers like calling a drought or an advertiser is swimming. Nonetheless, Philippa was a sorceress, a powerful one at that. Though healing was not her specialty, she could help heal the poisoned Saskia. To create a cure, she needed special ingredients. A dwarf and immortal. Among them, Geralt started the search, which asked one of his dwarven friends staying in Vergen. Zoltan, for he was a said friend, tarried in the Locomotive. Because dwarf immortal only grows underground, Geralt had no choice but to enter the mines. He needed the consent of Cecil Byrne, the Vergen elder first. Wow. One can find more than rare herbs in abandoned mines. Monstrosities, both those rare and too common. Rot fiends are among those most common monsters, but one cannot disregard them. Geralt remained vigilant as ever. He had to go deeper to find the immortal, and there were more rot fiends down there. In the darkest depths of the mine, where the bats stumbled over moles, Geralt had finally found the herb. He headed for the surface, content that he now focused on searching for the remaining ingredients. War Council. Excuse me. After reaching Vergen, Saskia and Stennis left Geralt to his own devices. The elder Cecil Byrne greeted the Witcher. Turned out that because of the Kedwinian threat, the gates will be closed. A debate was to be held, where all attendants could discuss how to end that threat. The Witcher was invited too, but the moment he could rest in a room the local inn provided for him. Following Byrne's entry to the inn, a hero had thought deeply about Upper Eddard's situation. Despite his distorted standards, Geralt's room had the cauldron provide quite cozy. The Witcher settled in, and once ready, ventured out to attend the War Council. My, was that ever a debate. The attending discussed how best to repel insults. There was many propositions and proposals as there were delegates and debaters and disputants. Luckily, the Witcher's task was simple: to lift the curse from the battlefield with Philippa Iola's heart, and thus getting rid of the gas and the mist and allowing the armies to move against one another. The Witcher would have started right away, glad to leave the debaters spewing words of spittle, but a tragedy occurred. Saskia was poisoned. The dying girls moved to her house, while Geralt and Yorveth and Cecil went to the store to await news. When only Philippa emerged, which began questioning her and the Dragon Slayer's condition. And Saskia's condition was bad and still deteriorating. Witcher not only had to find a way to lift the curse of the battlefield, but also get an antidote for the poison coursing through Saskia's veins as soon as possible. Prelude to War, Addern. While the good people of Temeria were busy massacring non-humans as a disputing who would ascend to the recently vacated throne, the Adderns busied themselves more or less with the same, while admitting putting more effort into the latter. After Demeveld's demise, pretenders to the crown sprang up like mushrooms. Apart from the one powerful noble family, First Fiddle, and as the Violet Orchestra belonging belonged jointly to Stennis, Doberman's son, and Saskia, a rebel leading a peasant insurrection. It was no accident that both arrived at the town of the Virgin at the same time, despite wielding different aims. They shared a goal: to repel Henselt's invading army. The story begins with heading to parley with the Kedwinian ruler. Edoran was weak and Kedwinian was strong. After Devimeld's death, the nobility couldn't have cared less about peasant riots, ran to the kingdom apart from within. The notables wanted to lick the Henselt's boots and strike a deal, even if that meant sacrificing Upper Edoran. But Saskia, the famed dragon slayer, standing at the head of the peasant army, was proud and a hot-tempered woman. At the time when few knights were to be found among the ranks of the defenders, she was the one to take up negotiations with Henselt, and she was the one to break them off. Spurred by pride and ambition, Edirnian representation provoked a fight and clashed swords at the Kedwinian legation. Analysts delight in the recounting the episode, for it was the first time in history when the king of one land and the heir of a throne of another, and a pretender to the same throne assisting the representatives of the most eminent families of two nations, pounded each other so eagerly in the middle of howling backwoods. A priest sought to stop the duel, was brutally handled by Henselt. He fell. As the holy man's blood stank to the ground, it woke a terror lurking beneath. A ghastly mist arose above the area. Blood called for blood. Hungry dead rose above the ground. Under these circumstances, the Geralt had arrived on the scene, hardly expecting encountering a strange spectral mist so near the destination of his long journey. Witcher appeared on the cursed battlefield at just the right instant. As it turned out, he was at the right man in the right place. Saskia, Yorvith, and our hero needed all their strength to fend off the attacking race. The situation looked exceptionally grim. Luckily, Philippa Eilhart also had Saskia's well-being in mind. The sorceress had transformed into Al and appeared on the battlefield to show a safe path through the dangerous vapor. Geralt decided to follow her. With a little perturbation, they repelled the mist, and Geralt could see Philippa Eilhart, who reformed the company and left Vergen. I hit that button again. Luckily, there's only a few more. Journey memories. After ending his conversation with Shallard, Geralt experienced a vision of a journey, a trek across the world in the pursuit of the wild hunt. Yet the hunt remained elusive all the while. The Witcher felt the bitterness of disappointment and defeat, but also staunch determination. He now realized just how much he had invested in and the search for the woman abducted from the Isle of Avalark. Another vision came to him with Geralt defeated the Drog and passed out. The Witcher realized that he had known all the Kingslayers earlier, and he had saved Lothal's life when the killer was poisoned by a manticore. In his vision, Geralt joined forces with the three mysterious men, and they tracked the wild hunt. Geralt knew Lethal would teleport, or the assassination of the kings. Geralt knew Lethal would teleport somewhere in the area of Vergern, and trust Marigold to ride in the town's vicinity among them. The Witcher began looking for the Kingslayer's trails. Geralt learned firsthand that the soldier of fortune Adam Pankrat was tasked with killing Lethal. A murderer's dream was another trail in Geralt's search. He found in the Harpy's Nest, and witnessing the discussion between Aklix and Lethal, and learned the name of the employer. Demovid's death was ordered by the sorceress Sheila de Terrence. Geralt was still trying to find the Kingslayers, but two of them were already dead. Only Lethal, the craftiest and most dangerous of the three, remained alive. It was him that Geralt wanted to find most of all. How surprised Geralt was when he heard the names of Hensel's computation. The defeated king of Kedwin was to accept Sheila de Transaville, the woman standing behind the assassinations of the Northern Monarchs, as his advisor. Hensel had no choice, and Geralt could only stand by, powerless and angry, watching the intrigue bear fruit. By all appearances, Saskia's victory was a victory for Philippa and Sheila, and both sorcerers must have plans reaching far further than the Pontar Valley. Yet Sheila de Transaville did not command the Kingslayers by herself. She cooperated with Philippa Eilhart and another mistress of magic. And the final one for Chapter 2. Scoia'tael. As you remember, Cedric was a hero of the previous war with Cadwern. Everywhere in Vergen heard him, and his brother Segaret was not nearly as famous. Living in the shadow of his great brother, Stilgar became embedded, hungry for acclaim. He thought defeating a Witcher in a fistfight would bring him glory. Geralt picked up the gauntlet. While Sigurd was barred Geralt's way, using Loftigorns to explain his intentions, the Witcher shrugged impatiently. In the blink of an eye, he beat the nobleman black and blue, ruining his plans for return to glory. The night curses followed Geralt. Thanks for watching.